Welcome to a Community Partners interview where we explore the organizations, opportunities, and resources that look to make change in our daily lives. I'm your host, Davy Au, and you're listening to Voices for Ability Radio. All abilities, all the time. Today, I'm joined by Bob Maguire, the Public Awareness Officer for the War Amps Canada. The War Amps Canada is an organization founded by amputee war veterans returning home from the First World War. Peer support, help, and practical assistance are common threads that have been retained in the modern-day organization that developed from their efforts. A philosophy of the War Amps is amputees helping amputees. Thanks for joining us today, Bob.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure, sir. Now, to begin, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what inspired you to work at the War Amps and with individuals with disabilities as a whole?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me once again. My name is Bob Maguire, and I was born missing 3 fingers on my right hand. I was born in a very small town of just 300 people in northern Ontario, and for the longest time, I thought I was the only person that was different. And it wasn't until my parents took me to our very first War Amps seminar. And these seminars is where the War Amps brings all the child amputees in a province together for a weekend. I saw someone who was a bit older, who had a hand like mine, who was missing fingers, and he was playing hockey. He was the most popular person at that seminar, and it was then I realized that I could do anything. And it's that power of connections, that's power of amputees helping amputees that always stuck with me. And about 7 years ago, when the War Amps asked me to work with them, I said yes. And it's just great to inspire that next generation of amputees across Canada.
And that honestly is a really amazing story too. Well, thank you for that. Now, that being said, now from there, let's see. In terms of your time of the War Amps, in preparing for this interview, I took a look at your website and did a lot of looking into some of the programs that are offered, of which there are a good sort of smorgasbord, for lack of a better term. And I know that you would be, and I'm sure, if anything, that you would be absolutely enthused to talk about them. On the one hand, there's a program called CHAMP for children for children with amputees. And on top of that, there's also an adult amputee program and a war amputee program. So do you think you could tell us a little bit about those three?
Absolutely. In 2018, the War Amps celebrated its 100th anniversary, and it started when war amputee veterans came back from the First World War and banded together and started to help one another not only live, but thrive as war amputee veterans. Then in 1975, all the war amputee veterans looked around, realized that they were well served, so the War Amps shift their focus to help children and child amputees, and that's what started the CHAMP program. And this year, we're proud to say this is our 50th anniversary of helping child amputees and with the CHAMP program. So anyone who is an amputee in Canada, and that's becoming an amputee through being born that way, through medical reasons, or through accidents, automatically becomes a member of the child amputee program within the War Amps. And within that program, the War Amps provides financial support. Prosthetics, as you can imagine, are incredibly expensive. So we want to alleviate that financial burden and just allow kids to be kids. You know, if a kid gets a new prosthetic leg so they can go swimming with their siblings, that is what the CHAMP program helps financially with. And same for that emotional support. Going to those CHAMP seminars, like I talked about earlier, and meeting other amputees that are thriving is a huge part of the emotional support that the CHAMP program provides too. And when any child graduates from the CHAMP program, they're still a member of the War Amps. We still provide support, and they become a member of our adult amputee program.
That's honestly amazing, and I guess to that end, happy 50th to the CHAMP program itself. From there, I mean, definitely, I could. I'm not sure if you already went over it, but you mentioned that when a child graduates from the CHAMP program, they automatically become a member of the adult amputee program. So do you think you could tell us about that too?
Absolutely. So the adult amputee program is for any amputee that's over a certain age, and we still provide support to all amputees, and we just support them in new ways. You know, how to be an amputee working in the workforce. And if any red tape comes up, we'll be able to provide support when it's ever needed as well.
All right. And then on the flip side, what about the war amputee program?
Absolutely. So we'll always be known as the War Amps to honor our first war amputee veterans. And as the years continue, there are fewer and fewer First World War and Second World War amputee veterans. So we also support modern day amputees, veteran amputees as well.
Right. And then in terms of the war amps, are there any sort of restrictions to becoming a member? Say age, caregiver, things of that nature?
Nope. As long as you are an amputee within Canada, and anyone can join.
Fair enough. And to that end, if say someone wanted to become a member, join the War Amps or volunteer with the War Amps, what's the process like?
Absolutely. All you have to do is, if you are an amputee and you would like our support, you can go to our website, which is waramps.ca, and then there will be an enrollment form right on our website. We're able to support all amputees across the country.
All right, and then let's see. Based on the amazing programs that you've gone over with me, told our listeners about today. Other than the programs that you offer, are there any events coming up that the War Amps will be taking part in or hosting?
Yes. We have been doing those champ seminars that I spoke about earlier all across the country. I just got back from one of our Western seminars in Calgary, and it was the first time I met a lot of new families that never have met another amputee before, and they bring their amputee children, and they just look up and just in awe and in amazement all weekend, realizing that they can do anything. Their concerns are disappearing because they see other amputees not only living, but they're thriving. And we call this our winner circle philosophy. And that means owning your amputation and making sure that nothing is impossible, that you can do anything. And I saw that a lot at these champ seminars that took place this past weekend.
And that's amazing. Out in cattle country. That's really amazing. And now speaking of amazing, and it actually segues very nicely, I would think, into the stories from the story that you just told me about the champ seminar here in Calgary as well. Without naming any names or getting too specific, are there any sort of success stories that you could share with us and our listeners today? Perhaps say about the supports that were put in place for someone when they ask for help, or about say someone who breezed through the War Amps doors and where they wound up now?
There's a lot of success stories, and honestly, these stories, continue to inspire me even as an older amputee. I think one that comes to mind is there was one younger amputee who is very active. They had a big family of over 4 to 5 siblings, and like any siblings rivalry, any family, you want to always outdo one another. And in this family, their activity of choice was archery, and one of the champs that was in the family is missing their arm, and they weren't able to play archery. They couldn't figure it out. And it wasn't until they came to a champ seminar, someone showed off their bow and arrow device. And that's just something that connects to the residual limb to the arrow. They immediately locked eyes with their mom and said, I want that device so I can play with my brothers and sisters. And within very quickly, I want to say, the prosthetist was able to make them a device, and they were able to play archery with their brothers and sisters every summertime. It's just that awe and like looking at the mom saying it is possible is something that we really live for.
Absolutely amazing, and it's a device that you said can help an amputee actually commit to the sport of archery. Wow.
Yep, it just helps upper limbs grab things a little bit better. there are devices and prosthetics for pretty much any activity out there. So, we encourage all of our champs, all amputees to get out there and not let their amputation stop them.
Fair enough. Now, to that end, seeing as amputeeism is basically the root of what we're mostly talking about today, for any of our listeners who are joining us for the first time, and this is a question that definitely pegs my interest too, considering that I'm a military history buff, and on the other hand too, many of my family members are actually from the med field, so they've seen this at one point or another. Do you think, to peg that interest, to peg, I'm sure, many people's curiosities, do you think that you could tell us what phantom limb pain and sensation is?
Absolutely. So, phantom limb pain is something that amputees who have lost a limb experience. So, that means if you have lost a leg, for example, you can still feel pain of where your leg once was. And it's a phenomenon that it captures a lot of amputees. A lot of amputees feel this, and there are still medical research going into it. They don't know what fully is going on, and it can be incredibly debilitating to many amputees.
That's fair. So, ergo, it's again, as you said, a feeling of a feeling of pain from where that lost limb used to be, almost as if it were still there.
Mm-hmm. And it can be shocking. It comes and goes, but it is something that does affect a lot of amputees. We've seen.
And I mean, and that's truly tragic in itself. But on the flip side, I must say, I'm sure everyone would feel the same too. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for everything that the War Amps continues to do for the amputee community.
Absolutely. And there's more literature on our War Amps website about phantom limb pain as well.
And and at least for me, I'm sure I will definitely be able to. I will definitely look into it, and I'm sure our listeners would definitely would definitely be interested in doing so as well. Now, and on that note, if our listeners are looking for more information, perhaps on the programs that the organization offers, on any events that are coming up, any literature, as you had just mentioned, about phantom limb pain, where can they do so? And how can they find you? How can they reach you?
Absolutely. You can go on our website, which is waramps.ca. You can also call us for more information. Our number is 1-800-250-3030.
All right. And before we wrap up today, I almost skipped over this question. I apologize. But in your opinion, what is one thing that you see happening repeatedly to individuals with disabilities that shouldn't be, and how do we go about stopping it?
A really good question. I think in my experience as an amputee, I do see a lot of people staring, at my residual limb. And, at first it can make me uncomfortable, but I think the stares come from a genuine place of curiosity. So I take that opportunity when people stare at my hand to educate them, play that teacher role, say I was born this way. I'm still able to do everything. I just, sometimes need prosthetics to do those things. It might just take me a different way. It may take me a bit longer to do those things. And I think, as an amputee, I have to be that ambassador to others. And I think if more people can do that, and it takes time, some people can't wear their amputation or their disability as a badge of courage, but I think that would make a better world when more people are understanding like that.
Absolutely, and I'd definitely be on the same boat to agree with you. Now, that being said, we've reached the end of yet another amazing interview segment. Thank you again, Bob, for joining us again today.
Absolutely, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you. Well, folks, you're listening to Community Partners, presented by Voices for Ability Radio. All abilities, all the time. I'm your host, Davy Au, here with Bob Maguire. Be safe, be kind, and I'll see you all next time.